I'm in the Scottish Highlands. I've come here this week to explore the mountains and moorlands and the remarkable wildlife that makes its living in this remote corner of the British Isles. In this series, I'm visiting some of Britain's most remote and wild landscapes to discover the fascinating wildlife that has made these places their home. This time, I've come to the majestic Cairngorm Mountains in the Scottish Highlands. You know, I love being up in these high places. They're a bit bleak, but there's a really special feeling here. When I look down into the valley, way into the distance, I can see a road and cars that literally look like ants. Looking down on civilization makes this place feel just that more remote. But here there is life. There's both the red and the black grouse living up here. And at this time of year, I may well see mountain hares that are still in their white winter coats, despite the landscape now being devoid of snow. The Cairngorms form the eastern part of the Grampians, the main belt of mountains that straddles central Scotland. This massive plateau of granite stretches for 30 kilometres. Its rock faces give welcome shelter to birds of prey from the elements. Beneath these granite peaks lies a vast open moorland wilderness. I'm starting my journey on the edge of this moorland, at the foot of the mountain, the optimum habitat for one of nature's calendar's most exciting events. One of the things at this time of year that's very exciting is the mating of the black grouse. And what they look for is an area like this, which is in between moorland. You can see there's the moors there, there's some woodland, and then this alluvial plain, if you like. And this is a perfect place for a lek site. That's where the grouse mate and put on their display. These sites are used year after year by the birds, and this is exactly one of those places. Now, I can't pretend I found this, although they are findable, and I'm going to show you the sign to look for. I've been told about this site by the local keeper, and here already you can see some black grouse feathers on the site. To a trained eye, there's a very subtle flattening of the ground here where the birds are moving around. So this looks like the epicenter, and what you can think of is this being a little bit like an arena where the birds will come and fight. Very exciting what goes on here. This is like the hidden wildlife games of the Highlands, if you like. Black grouse are incredibly nervous, so the cameraman and I have hidden up in a hide. Well, we're going to be in here quite a while, all night, and it's going to be a bit chilly, so I'm going to put some warm layers on and get a sleeping bag out. And now all we can do is wait until morning, when the lek will begin. Before light, the moor is filled with a peculiar gurgling noise. Then a flash of white tells me that the lek is in full swing.
Oh, here we go, we've got two male birds squaring up to each other.
These male black grouse are vying for the attention of onlooking hens. They pick what they feel as the optimum patch of ground to catch her attention, then fiercely guard their chosen territory. Looking good is just as important as looking tough. The distinctive red eyebrow wattles grow to 4 times their usual size, and the cocks carefully preen and tidy their glossy black feathers.
The birds are very flighty. Slightest disturbance and they're gone. There's 3 of them coming together now. Little jumps, bit of calling. blade. Yep. Heads down, back, forwards, forwards, back. It's amazing to be able to sit here and to watch this just 10 metres away. It's incredible. I think they may have seen some movement. Well, that's not us. The birds have all just flown away. They flew towards us. I wonder if there's a buzzard out there or some other bird of prey.
Sure enough, this hungry buzzard has brought an early end to the contest. But it's been a real privilege to have had a ringside seat to such a rare performance. To really get the feeling of this country, you have to come up onto the moorland. This landscape is very harsh, and it definitely contributes to the characteristics of the wildlife itself. The hardy creatures that live here have had to evolve to make the most of this exposed environment. These golden plover's feathers are useful camouflage in the coarse heather. They nest and breed here over the summer before heading to the lowlands when the Scottish winter descends. It's very poor land, and despite that, Highlanders have managed to make a living from this landscape throughout history. Today, that's achieved by the very precise management of these moors for the benefit of the red grouse. Highly prized game birds, red grouse have been an important part of the local economy for 150 years. As a result, they're responsible for this dramatic annual tradition. This is heather burning, a highly skilled technique that helps preserve patches of old and new heather that the red grouse needs for its survival. Speyside's estate's sporting manager, Frank Law, oversees the heather burning here in order to keep a healthy population of red grouse for shoots. A lot of people may think that when you burn the heather, you're killing the heather. Of course, you're not. You're just slowing it down, aren't
Exactly. You're just checking it. What you want to try and do is to get everything the grouse wants within the territory. So good, long heather for getting away from predators. And when you burn heather, of course, the young shoots come through. They're more palatable, better feeding value, and it produces more young grouse, ultimately.
And so the bits you burn this year, when will you burn them next?
They might not see another fire for 15 years. Some of the more remote bits might not see a fire for 50 years.
So basically there's this mosaic of areas that have been burned this year, some last year, and going back 15 years or more.
If you look just behind you there, you can see the dark fires are this year's fires, the lighter ones are the year before. So that's a pretty good mosaic of burning there.
And I guess if you didn't burn the heather in this way, the fire risk of a fire taking off in an old moor is massive.
Absolutely. Just see if we could find something in here.
Frank's German short-haired pointer, Chewy, is trained to locate the grouse, helping Frank work out the number of birds that can be shot without harming the population.
And there's an old scent there. She'll lock on absolutely solid when she's got the real thing.
Now, a lot of people don't understand how important the grouse moors are to the economy up here in Scotland. It's vital, isn't it?
Vital, you know, it brings a lot of visitors, a lot of foreign money to these rural parts of Scotland, and the grouse shooting just now is pretty good out here. Somewhere here. Yeah. Okay, we'll just go and look and see what's going on here.
It's there, look. There it is. It's moving now, right to left.
Good dog, Tui. Wonder if the hen's there. Let's just let her go and see if she can find the hen. There it goes. There's the hen. See, it's got a lovely golden colour on its back at this time of year, just getting ready for nesting. As I head away from the moor and start my journey up the mountain,
the views become ever more spectacular. But very often the magic lies in the detail. The site of this abandoned golden eagle's nest holds some real treasures for a naturalist. Have a look at this. These are some of the signs of an eagle that are found at an eagle's nest. There, look at that beautiful feather. And of course, to Native Americans, the feather of the eagle was tremendously important because they felt that it gave them some sort of connection to their creator, the Great Spirit up in the sky. But it's not just eagle feathers, of course. Take a look at that. That's the pellet from a golden eagle. Look at the size of it. Astonishing. If we pick that apart, we'd have a very good idea of what they've been eating in this area. Of course, there'd be a lot of red grouse feathers. You can see some feather tips just there. And this looks like a bit of old grouting. It even sounds a little bit like porcelain. That's an eagle dropping that's full of bone. That's why it's got such a white, calcium-rich colour. And there's one other sign at this nest site, and that's this. And that's the droppings from a fox. There's obviously an opportunist and has come up here in the hope that there's some scraps to be picked from the eagle's table. Always cheeky, the fox. I'm in the beautiful Cairngorm Mountains in the Scottish Highlands, one of the wildest places in Britain. At this altitude, the landscape is Arctic by nature and home to a very special selection of creatures that have adapted to live here. These granite giants have stood here for over 40 million years, and it's easy to feel that you're in a place that time has forgotten. There's this secret life in the Highlands, and to see it you really have to sweat. You've got to go up the hills and really work for it, but it's definitely worth the effort. Especially when you catch a sight like this, native red deer. That's fantastic. But I tell you what, it's hard on the neck looking up at this angle, so I'm going to use the bank as a backrest and to give me some steadiness. There's a big boy in the middle. He looks quite nice. He's very pale. If you were here around 10,000 years ago, it wouldn't be the red deer you'd see. Instead, you'd have found these, reindeer. They vanished from Britain in the 10th century due to overhunting. The Cairngorms are the ideal habitat for them to live and breed, with a climate similar to the Arctic tundra. Tilly Smith manages a herd of 150 reindeer halfway up the mountain, where many of them roam freely.
Good girls. Oh.
People may wonder about, the wisdom of bringing reindeer here. Can they damage the environment? Because there are so many stories of introduced animals not being appropriate. But of course, this is their natural habitat, isn't it?
It is. The Cairngorms is the one place where you would expect to see reindeer. The landscape's right, because reindeer don't want it too steep. They want rolling hills. They're not agile like goats. No. They wanted it nice and snowy in the winter and Arctic, and they want it, they want the Arctic and alpine flora of the high tops in the summer.
And when they browse, they don't damage the plants?
No, they've got a very delicate dentition. They've got tiny bottom front teeth and no top front teeth, which is correct in ruminants. But they don't have big bottom front teeth, so when they're browsing, they're literally just plucking the leaves. They've also got very large feet. Now, obviously, that's for the snow and for digging in the snow and everything, but it's also very, very cushioning on the ground. Yeah. So when they walk across the ground, they're not trampling it and they're not poaching it like some of the other animals do.
I think Crown here's looking for some more food.
I think he is.
You're a rascal, you are.
Should we see if he wants some? La, 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 la. As you can see, he gets the lion's share with a big set of antlers like this.
Yes, he can push his weight around, can't he? He's going to have a lovely set of antlers.
He is, and they're going to branch and they're going to be pointed, and he's going to be a big boy by the end of the year. And he knows it.
Reindeer are the only deer species where the females also have antlers. In winter, they use them along with their hooves to shovel snow aside in their search for food, such as grass and lichens.
Do you know, one of the most amazing things I've seen with reindeer was with the reindeer herders in Siberia when they wanted to bring them in. So they cut a tree down and cut it into a trough and put salt in it. And an hour later, boom, there's this stampede. And they can smell that at long distance.
They love salt. Last year, the ski company put a big pile of sand and grit there, and the reindeer were on it like flies.
You know, it may be spring, but the wind up here is bitterly cold. It just builds my respect for all the creatures that live up here. It's astonishing.
I've come to the very top of the mountain to search for a creature that has evolved to cope with the elements, a distant cousin of the black and red grouse. The ptarmigan lives higher up than any other bird, and in Britain can only be found here, in the highest mountains of the Scottish Highlands.
It might look like a wild ptarmigan chase, but I'm definitely in the right spot here because you can see some ptarmigan droppings here. And this is exactly the right sort of place for them. And these boulders, that's what their camouflage is really good for. And some more droppings over here. A lot more here. And a feather. As you can see the droppings here. And the ptarmigan feather. An Indian in Canada showed me to take little feathers like that and put them in my mitts. And it keeps them so much warmer. It's fantastic. And there, I'm certainly in the right place. Lots of droppings now. But the birds are nowhere to be seen. So they're off somewhere else. They may be on a different side of the hill. And, yeah. Oh, hello, there's something dark up there. What's that? There is the potential predator. That's a golden eagle. Watching carefully from above. What a view that bird must have. Oh, that's a fantastic sight. Moments like this, you just wish you had a pair of wings like that. That's fantastic. It may be that golden eagle is the reason we haven't seen any ptarmigan today. It could be that they know that's there and they're hunkered down. One of the things about birds that are prey species, they're very alert to specks in the sky above them. If you're at home and you feed a robin and you see it turn its head like that, and you look up, more often than not there'll be a kestrel, and it's the same for the birds here on the moor. They're very alert to any movement, dark movement in the sky above them. And that golden eagle, obviously hunting in this area, so if there's a ptarmigan here, if it's got any sense, it'll have its head tucked down and be relying on its camouflage at this time. That's almost certainly why I haven't seen one today.
On the other side of the mountain, away from the eagle's glare, our cameraman managed to catch a glimpse of this elusive bird, demonstrating its clever disguise technique. In winter, its feathers turn completely white, except for its tail, to camouflage it against the snow. But as the days grow longer, they become a mottled yellow and brown, helping conceal it amongst the lichen-covered rocks.
Quite well protected from the wind here. I think I'll put the spotting scope up and have a scan of the landscape. A couple of walkers in the distance coming over the top. Lovely day for a walk. It's nice when you get that breeze when you're walking hard in the hills. It cools you off. Fantastic. Now, that's luck. There is a hare. Now, that was really lucky. You don't have a spot like that, but one time in 1,000.
You can just see the beginnings of its summer coat that give the mountain hare its other name, the blue hare, for the bluish-grey tint to its fur.
I'm going to put the rucksack on the tripod to stabilise it a little bit. That is the most awesome camouflage. Fantastic. Now, at this time of year, these hares have got white coats, but they are a little mottled already, and they blend in so well. If they're not moving, they're just incredibly difficult to spot. It's a lovely thing to see. It's the private moment in the only truly native member of the rabbit family here in the UK.
They've evolved perfectly to life in these mountains, but sadly their survival may be under threat. With global warming, the snow is melting earlier in the season, leaving the hares in their white winter coats sticking out like sore thumbs, making them very vulnerable to predators. This habitat and its climate are unique in Britain. Without it, many of the rare and beautiful creatures that live here would be lost to our island. The challenge is for us all to learn to work together so we can preserve this glorious landscape and all that lives in it for our children and their children's children to enjoy.